Okay, so what we're going to do now is just show you the layout of our control panel. So what we've got on the right hand side of the panel, we've got the speed controller, which is this round knob. We've got the on switch for the machine, and then we've got the on off switch for our heaters. Now to turn it on, basically flick it on, it'll go through a scan of the machine to make sure that there's no faults. Now once the light is turned on and it's solid, and it's glowing solid, it's not flashing, that means the machine is ready to go. If the light is flashing, that means that it's found a fault. Now the amount of flashes that it does, and it just keeps recurring, the number of flashes, there's a list here from 1 to 9, so whatever number it's flashing corresponds to the fault. So basically the machine is ready. You can hear the fan running across the electronic system, so you know that everything's fine. The second light that we've got, that's a green light that's flashing, this is our level of product. Now once that light starts flashing, that means one of the products is down to 3.8 litres, which is about a gallon, because these machines are US built. So if you've got a spotter or if you're spraying, you really need to keep an eye on this light. So you need to start thinking about refilling our tanks. And next along is a light to say that our heaters are on. So we just turn the heaters on. It also goes through a fault finding function. It'll come up and everything is clear. We've got the ISO and the resin temperatures here at the moment. Now this is the temperature inside the machine. This is not the temperature of the product. So basically this will tell you what the machine is heating the product up to as it goes past the heater coils. So at the moment everything's fine. As I said, it has got a fault function in this as well. Now this is a little bit different. This will come up with a fault, it will have E0 and then the number. So the most occurring fault that comes on these is E04, and that means that the temperature sender is not connected. Usually you can turn the machine off and on and it comes back on, it clears itself pretty quickly. But that's very rarely, but you know, that's probably the most common one we've got. So at the moment, the machine is idle, we've got nothing pumping. For the training that we're doing today, I'll just show you how to turn the heaters on. So the heaters on these two buttons on the right hand side. You can hear it click. Now that first click tells you that the heater has activated, but you need to actually turn both of them on individually. Now you'll see two red lights just flashing. That means that the heater is actually operating at that time. So now there are a couple of settings that you can do with these. We'll just turn those heaters off at the moment because we've got no fluid going through. So down the bottom we've got 4 buttons. Now we've got on the right hand side we've got Fahrenheit and degrees. Okay, so basically we've got it set at degrees. You can change it to Fahrenheit if you prefer to use that temperature, but as in Australia, degrees is what we use. Now on the left hand side we've got what the temperature is in the heater block at the moment. The lower button, if you flick that, that is actually the target that you want the product to be at. So you can basically go from anywhere from, at the moment I've got it set at 40 because I've got poly lube through here. We don't want to overheat that, but we just want to we run our machines once a week with the heaters, so we just keep everything circling, keep everything going. So you can actually press the up button and you can go all the way up to 77 degrees. So at the moment the machine is set that once you turn the heaters on, the product in the heater block will get heated up to 77 degrees. The time you would use this is on a cold day like today and you want to heat your product up. So what you do is you set it at 77, you get the machine recirculating, and then that will pump the product through the heater block through the manifolds, into the hoses, then back into the tanks, and that's how it heats the product up. So it's really important that when you come in the first thing in the morning, if it's a cold day, that you want to get that going as quickly as possible while you get the job set up. So at the moment, machine's basically ready to go. So that's the control panel. Now I'll go back over to our right hand side. Now this is our controller that we've got here. This is our speed controller, or basically what pressures you set it at. So there's two functions on this switch. There's recirc. So now if you go 1 recirc, now this is a slow recirc. Now if you want to heat your product the quickest, this is the best way to do it. So you can have your product set at 77. As it goes past the heaters, the product will heat up nicer. It will heat up quicker because the product's got more time to cross the heater cores. Where if you have it on the fast mode, the product will go past too quickly and it won't heat up as quick. So I know it can get frustrating, but the slower you go, the quicker it's going to heat up. If you get up to about 30, 35 degrees in your tanks, what you can do is you can actually set that to fast, and as long as these numbers don't drop down, that means you can keep it on fast. But if the numbers if the temperature starts to drop too quickly, it's going to take longer to heat up. So just go back to slow and heat it up that way. So just going to shut the machine down. We're going to just show you a little bit more on the machine. Now we're going to show you the main control panel of the E10. Now the control panel is divided up into two sections. We've got our control panel on the right hand side, which is our speed controller for our motors. It basically adjusts your pressures once you want to spray. Then on the left hand side, we've got our heater controls. Now it's laid out very easy. It's easy to read. There's not many things that can get you too confused, but definitely are worth spending a bit of time and learning the actual control panels. So first of all, we've got the speed control, as I mentioned. We've got the on-off switch for our motor. We've got our on-off switch for our heaters. Now we've got indicator lights. This is our system indicator light, which basically every time you switch the machine on, it goes through a series of checks. So it's got a self-diagnosis. If there's a problem, this light will start to flash. So basically it's got, if it flashes once, it's got one issue, then it goes all the way down to 9. And it just keeps repeating until you turn the machine on. Turn the machine off, then back on again. If the fault has cleared, it will stay solidly red. If not, it will flash the number again, and then you have to get a tech in to do any repairs. The second light that we've got, this is your level light. This is the level of the product in your tanks. Now, when this light starts to flash, it means you've got about 3.8 litres of product left. So if you've got a spotter or if you're spraying on your own, it's really important to keep an eye on that, because once that starts to flash, this is when you want to start putting more product into your tanks. The third light is the indicator light to say that the heaters are on and it's ready to activate. So first of all, I'll turn the machine on. Now you've got the fan going, which goes across the electronics. Once this light comes on, okay, it's glowing solid, so there's no issues with the self-diagnosis. The second light is flashing. That means we've got less than 3.8 litres of product in the tank. At the moment, I've got about 2 litres of polylube. We store our machines with polylube in it because we run them once a week to make sure that they're all ready to go when we want to use them. And it's just good practice not to keep your product in the machine for too long. Okay, so basically I'll turn the heaters on. Now, the heater panel has lit up. Now we've got the ISO, which is the top. It's got ISO written there. We've got the resin just below it. Now the temperature it's showing at the moment is the temperature in the heater core. It's not the temperature that's in the tanks. Now the temperature in the tanks are actually indicated on an analog thermometer down the bottom. We'll take a video of that later on when we get ready to start to get the product ready to spray. So on this side of the panel, these are the on-off switches for your heater. These are your up and down to adjust your temperatures. So obviously they've got for the ISO and resin. Now down the bottom, you've got Fahrenheit and degrees. You can use whichever you wish. You can use Fahrenheit if you like. We've got it set at degrees at the moment. Now once those two, once they're set, you don't need to change those. Now it's these two here on the left hand side which you're going to be using basically every time you use the machine. Now the top one is the temperature in the heater core, which we've got shown at the moment. Now the switch down the bottom that's got a target on it, well that's basically what the machine is set at. So once the product goes through the heater core, it will come out at 77 degrees. So if it's on a cold day like it is today here on the Gold Coast, we want to heat up our product quickly, you would get that right up to 77 degrees and basically get the machine recirculating and heating up your product. Usually it takes about 40 minutes for the product to heat up, but it can take longer. It depends on the day, the temperature of the day, temperature of the product. So if you want it to heat up quicker, you'd be wise to have your product in a warm room or have it with a blanket over the top of it or a heater, heater bands to get that product up to temperature and get it up a lot quicker. So basically it's at 77 degrees. We try not to run the heaters on while the machine is stationary. We want to be making sure that the machine is flowing, pushing products across the heaters, because if not, that product that's in that heater core will overheat and it may damage the product itself. So basically we're ready to get the machine fired up. So back to the speed controller. So this has got two, it's got, okay, so it's got two functions. Now the first function is to recirc. So basically we recircing at a slow speed. Now if your product's really cold, this is where you want to heat up your product. Now your product, the slower it goes past the heater cores, the quicker it will heat up. Now there's also a second speed. So now that is your fast recirc. Now the only time you would use that is when the product is already quite warm and you just want to get flowing a little bit quicker. But basically while you're heating the product, you want to be going down slow so it can heat up. So we've got the machine running, it's circuiting, it's going through the pump, through the manifold and the hoses. So to turn the heaters on, we just press this button. Now when you turn the first heater on, you'll hear a clunk. So that means it's working. You'll also see that the light is flashing. Now while that light is flashing, that means the heater's working. So we'll turn the resin on now. Okay, so both lights are flashing. The indicator light is on as well. Now, with the diagnosis size of the heater, basically what will come up is a letter E and a 0 and then a number. So if you look at, note that number, then along the left-hand side, you've got all the fault codes that you'll need to know that the machine can do. So if the light's flashing red on our controller, on our speed control side of the panel, this is 1 and all the way down to 9. Now this is the heater control fault. So basically E01 all the way to E04. So if any of those numbers come up here, you can quickly have a look and see what the problem is. So at the moment it's going through. We've got it on, at the moment we've still got it on target. I'm going to change it. So at the moment the temperature of the fluid going past the heaters is slowly rising. You can see it's going up to 66, 67. Now they may go up differently. It's usually around about a couple of degrees difference, but they will fluctuate considering what product is going through. So at the moment I've got polylube in it. I don't want the polylube to get too hot. So what I'll do is I just want to show you what it looks like once it, if you go to fast mode too quickly. So we're at 73, we'll get it up to 77. Okay, so they're going up pretty quickly, around a couple of degrees difference. You'll find that as soon as I go to fast, the temperatures will start to drop. So we've got the ISOs dropping very quickly. That means we've turned it to fast too quickly, too early. So you really need the product to get up to about 30, 35 degrees before you go to fast mode. But even at that temperature, if you see them dropping, that means that the product's going across too quickly and it's not heating up enough. So we can go back down to slow, and you'll find that those numbers will start to go up. They're already starting to go up. So it's really important that you do keep an eye on that. You don't want to go to fast mode too quickly. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go back to target. I'm going to drop that down to 40 degrees because that's the temperature that I like to have it at when we've got polylube. We don't want to get the polylube too hot. So if you hold the buttons down, it will go one digit at a time, but if you hold it long enough, it will go down a lot quicker. So just be careful with that. You get close to the number that you want. So at the moment, it's set at 40, and you'll find that these temperatures are dropping down quite quickly because the products are still cold. So they'll go down. Once it hits 40, it will even out. So that's our control panel. It's pretty easy. Now, when we go to spray, we've got the speed controller. So once we go past the... Okay, so now we've gone just past the recirc mode of the machine. Now, if I was going to start to spray, what we would do is we'll do the recirc valves later, but just put the recirc valves into spray mode, and then basically we just turn it up to whatever speed we want. Okay, so at the moment we've got that on number 4, and we've got just under 1,000 psi. So, but if we go all the way up, it'll be up and around the 2,500 psi. That's the maximum of this machine. So wherever you set it at, that's what it will keep the pressure at. So if you want to spray at 1,800 psi, you adjust it to the corresponding speed or the number for that to be up at 1,800 psi. Okay, so we'll just turn that back off and just do the recirc valves. So basically we've depressurized the system, and so we're just basically ready to move on to our next section.